Okay, so your GMO greetings, I'll say everyone for tuning in. I'm just giving it a second for some people to jump on. If you have any issues with the sound or the images, just let me know in the chat room. And I'm gonna put a link in the chat room right quick. Hold on, let me make sure that's all right. Okay, so your GMO greetings. I'll say we thank you for tuning in. I'm Ojirafo Kwesi Ranehmbata Akan Ojirafo of Akwamu Mine, Amaruka, Etifimu, that is the Akwamu Nation in North America within Ojira Mine, the purified nation, Afurakani, Afurai Kaiknit, meaning African Black people in the Western Hemisphere. So we wanted to do this live tonight because we have an update on our KANKYE Conjure Film Festival. Some of you are aware that our film festival is coming up this fall, so we have a number of different films in the Conjure film genre. We're talking about ancestral religion, Afurakani, Afurakaitni, meaning African ancestral religion, specifically preserved in the blood circles of our people here in the United States over the past 300 plus years when we were forced from Afuraka, Africa during enslavement into the Western Hemisphere. We held on to our ancestral religious practices. Some of them, Hoodoo, which is actually the Akan ancestral religion in North America, Juju, which is the Yoruba tradition in North America, Voodoo, which is the Ewe tradition, Gullah and Geechee traditions, which are the Gola and Kitsi traditions and so forth. Various expressions of ancestral religion preserved by us in our spirit-genetic blood circles, which we relied on for our resilience, for our empowerment, to guide us, to wage war against the white snarl spring, free ourselves from enslavement, also heal ourselves through root work and so forth. So we're exploring those narratives and themes and true stories, true history in these Conjure films. So we have produced two films in the Conjure film genre, which you can see on our website. Let's go to the website right quick. And the main reason we're doing the live tonight is because out of the 365 seat theater that we are renting for the all-day event, we had a certain number of tickets set aside for the 25% discount. We have about 30 of those left. We set aside 60. We have about 30 left, so we wanted to put those out, let you know about that. But let me pull up the page on our website. And first and foremost, before we even get to that, okay. So this is our website. So it's KANKYE, Conjure Film Festival. You see the flyer on the right. These two flyers, first and foremost, KANKYE is the Akan term for a conjure. In the Akan language of Ghana and Ivory Coast, the term KANKYE is comprised of two words, ka, which means to speak, utter, say, or tell, then ache, which means to come forward, as in the coming forward of the sun, illumination and so forth. So ka-che together is a compound word. It means to speak, utter incantations, ka, to bring the spirits forward, just like the sun is the major power that enlightens us, but also vitalizes us. At nighttime, when it's in the quote-unquote underworld, it's the unseen force that's giving us power and illumination and so forth. But when the sun rises in the east and so forth, it illuminates the landscape, but it also revitalizes us, energizes us. So this power that was unseen is now in the world or the realm of the seen. So when we say ka, che, or kanche, to speak, utter incantations, ka, to make the spirits come forward, ache, like the coming forward of the sun, that is ritual incantation, to bring the spirits forward. That's ritual prayer, ritual chant, ritual song, and so forth. So KANKYE is the origin of the term conjure. We even take it back to ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. When we look at the Meduten Toro, the hieroglyphs, Ka also means to speak, utter, say, or tell, and Che means to come forward as the rising of the sun. So the exact same definition you find in the Akan language in Ghana and Ivory Coast, you find in our ancient language of ancient Kemet and Kanit, Egypt and Nubia. We wrote a whole article about that, showing the hieroglyphs, showing the language. This is part of the study that we have put forward. We published 31 books over the past 28 years, some of them dealing with linguistics, cosmology, trustery, and so forth. Of course, dealing with the Hoodoo tradition and others as well. So we proved that information, but this is why it's called KANKYE. And we coined the term the Conjure film genre. So the films that we are focusing on, that we're going to showcase and from independent Black filmmakers, including ourselves and so forth, are films in the Conjure film genre. So this is the flyer, this is the webpage. You see the, let me show that's the link on the screen right there. And these are the first two films that we produced. Amarukafo Adebisa, African American Ancestral Divination. That is the first film that I produced a few years back. And we're showing the different expressions of ancestral divination that we preserved in our blood circles. We have Mama Mawusi Ashakir from Cincinnati, dealing with the Juju tradition in that film and forms of divination preserved in our blood circles in North America over the past 300 plus years. Rekit Gajara Niyaya Nebethet, who's based in Georgia. She's dealing with the Ngangan tradition, which is the Fang tradition preserved in our blood circles. Divination practices based on that, preserved in our blood circles for hundreds of years. We have Seshat Tut Ankwajet, who is based in Florida. Her family is Gullah, which includes the Wanga tradition that was preserved in our blood circles in the forms of divination there. Voodoo Queen Galinda Laveau, who's based in New Orleans, practicing the voodoo tradition. She talks about the form of divination they preserved in their family. And then, of course, myself, based in Chicago, from Chicago and so forth, and I'm talking about the hoodoo tradition, which is the Akan tradition in North America, and how we preserve certain forms of divination in our blood circles for hundreds of years here in North America, which guided us towards freeing ourselves from enslavement, reestablishing independent sovereign spaces in North America, and waging war to force the end of enslavement totally. And then even after enslavement, establishing independent Black towns. There was a total independent Black town movement. Hundreds of Black towns, not just Black Wall Street, but hundreds of Black towns were established. Some of them still exist today. Right outside of Washington, D.C., just a couple of miles past the northeastern border, if you're on Eastern Avenue in Washington, D.C., and you cross the street and you're in Mount Rainier, you drive a few blocks down, you're in Brentwood, you drive a few more blocks, and you're in North Brentwood. North Brentwood is an all-Black town that was established over 100 years ago by our people right after the end of enslavement. They still exist today. It's a Black town. They have a Black mayor. They have a Black city council. It's a small Black town, but it's still thriving. They just celebrated their 100th year of incorporation last year. So they established in the late so-called 1800s, but they incorporated in 1925, and they've been around for 100 years. So some of these Black towns still exist. So even in the movie Sinners, when they were talking about Mound Bayou, Mississippi, when you had Smoke talking to Sammy, when he was talking about leaving the plantation, and he wanted to go out and, make it on his own. And he was trying to convince him to go to that independent Black town, Mound Bayou, Mississippi, and play church music instead of doing the juke joints and so forth. Mound Bayou, Mississippi is another independent Black town that was founded over 100 years ago, and they're still going on today. So when we talk about, our ancestral trustery, true history, hoodoo, voodoo, juju, wanga, and so forth, it's fully immersed in that culture, also the politics and everything else. So our first film was Amado Kafo Adebisa. We actually won an award for Best Original Documentary at the Kwanzaa Film Festival in New York. We were also screened at the Pembroke Toparelli Art and Film Festival in Los Angeles. So we did well with that film. And then just a little over 2.5 years ago, we did Hoodoo Akan ancestral religion in North America. You can watch both of these films on our YouTube channel for free, on this very channel. So we go into detail here in the Hoodoo film, proving that Hoodoo is the Akan religion of the Akan people of Ghana and Ivory Coast in West Africa, West Africa. Some of us who were Akan, who were taken from those regions, were forced into North America, and we continued Akan ancestral religion under the Akan word Ndu, which means medicine from roots, trees, and plant life. Ndu also means to become heavy with the spirit through spirit possession and spirit communication. It has a number of different meanings. Ndu came to be pronounced hoodoo in North America, and we continued the Ndu tradition. So when you look at the mojo, I got my mojo working, and you heard about mojo in the Sinners movie. Mojo comes from the Akan term moja, which later was pronounced moja and mojo and so forth. That's a sacred talisman. The jack ball comes from the ja in the Akan tradition. The gofa doctor with the gofa dust comes from the komfo and komfwa in Akan tradition. High John the Conqueror, the root or Johnny Kankaru comes from Jama Kakaru in the Akan language and ritual practice and so forth. So we go into detail. The Haint spirits, you heard about Haints in the Sinners film. Haint comes from the Akan term Hinti, means the same thing in the Akan language and ritual practice as it does in Hoodoo in North America, because it's the same thing. So we go into detail showing all the aspects of the Hoodoo tradition, everything that you've heard about Hoodoo, whether it's Hoodoo, Conjure, Mojo, Jackball, Hanks, Gopher Doctor, Gopher Dust, High John the Conqueror, all these different things. We go into detail about each one of them, where the names and functions come from in the Akan ancestral religion and how they were preserved unbroken into North America for hundreds of years up until this very moment. So that's our second Conjure film. We are working on our third film, which is going to be part 2 of the Hoodoo film. Part 2 is going to deal with Hoodoo ritual. So we'll be going around the country, just like we did in the first film, when we filmed in Cincinnati and Georgia and Florida and New Orleans and Virginia and different places. We'll be going, and in the Hoodoo film, you'll see that we travel to Ghana in West Africa, West Africa. We also travel to Kemet and Kanit, Egypt and Nubia, and we have footage from there in that Hoodoo film. Well, in part 2 of the Hoodoo film that's going to be released at our film festival this fall, we're going to be dealing with Hoodoo ritual, and we'll be going around the country and showcasing people involved in Hoodoo ritual, authentic Hoodoo ritual, not the pseudo Hoodoo ritual that you see a lot of online, but we're talking about authentic Hoodoo ritual grounded in Hoodoo cosmology, which is rooted specifically in Akan identity. So that'll be our third film we'll be releasing, but we're also going to have films from other independent Black filmmakers in the Conjure film genre. So we're going to have at least 6 to 7 films that we'll be screening. You'll be able to have a question and answer session with the filmmakers. We're going to have vendors. We're going to have vegan food and so forth. It's going to be an all-day event. So what we wanted to show is that in fact, let me show you the venue. We are renting this venue, which is the Arc Theater in Washington, D.C. Just want to show you an image. Some of you, if you've come to some of our conferences, you've come to this complex, because it has a number of different, sections within the complex. When we were having our conferences, we were in the recital hall and so forth, and we would have, our Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation Festival. We've had that for 11 years. In October, we have our Etchi Sign Conference, also 11 years in March, and then we have the Ojita Mind Conference, this will be the 11th year in June. So some of you have come to some of our events, and you came to the Arc, complex, but we were in the recital hall. Now the difference is here, we're going to be in the theater, which is a different part of the complex that we haven't rented before. So in the theater, and we're going to show an image of the theater here. This is the actual space. This is in the community. It's a communal space within the Black community and so forth. It's a state-of-the-art theater, 365 seats, and this is where we're going to be. So we're selling tickets partially, and we have two things going on. We're selling tickets. We also have a crowdfund effort as well if you'd like to contribute to the crowdfund. But if you want to purchase tickets, out of the 365 seats, we had 60 set aside for our subscribers at a 25% discount. We have about 30 of those left. That's why we wanted to go live today. We had some people purchase over the weekend, and yet I say we thank you all for doing that. When you purchase the tickets, you can either use them for the in-person event. If you like to attend in person in Washington, D.C., you want to travel to D.C. and participate in the in-person event. If you can't travel to Washington, D.C., we're going to have a private link for the live stream so you can watch all of the films. You can, listen and, watch the question and answer session, the talk back session with the filmmakers. We'll also allow you to submit questions live via live stream and so forth. So whether you want to attend in person or you want to attend via live stream, we have that option. So we have about 30 of those tickets left at the 25% discount. And we want to show you the link so you can go right now. You can go to our page right now and check out the link. One of the reasons we have, and we'll be discussing also, the reason you see the center's flyer on the page is because we'll be discussing that, some of the deeper meanings from the Hoodoo tradition, things that most people wouldn't know about when they're watching the film, certain quote unquote, gems and so forth, buried jewels and so forth. We're going to delve into that. So we'll have a short discussion about that. Now, this is the direct link, and I'll put the direct link in the chat room. Hold on a second. Okay, so that's the direct ticket link. And as you can see, as we go through, let me scroll up right quick. The regular ticket price is going to be $40, as you can see here. But the 25% discount, primarily for our subscribers, those of you who subscribe to our channel, you follow us when we go live, or you've taken some of our classes or joined in some of our sessions, live sessions and so forth. We have a 25% discount. So instead of 40, it's 30. And one thing that we also did is we decided to put this on the Square platform. So when you purchase the ticket on the Square platform, what you can do is you can split the payment into 4 interest-free installments. So instead of paying 30 upfront, when you click Afterpay at checkout, you'll have the option to split your payment into 4 equal payments of $7.50, and only $7.50 is due today. And then a couple of weeks later, you pay another $7.50, and then a couple of weeks after that, $7.50, until you pay it off. So that way, if you want to order one ticket or more than one, you want to bring someone with you, you can break that up into, small payments. So this is the reason we chose the Square platform for that. But this is the direct link to the tickets page. And it's here that we, over the weekend, we did a presentation on the Ntafo, the twins. And let me just show you what we were dealing with on our presentation. Part of the cosmology associated with ancestral religion in general, and which has been preserved in North America in our ancestral religious practices. And it became a prominent, theme within the Center's film, but this is part of our ancestral religious heritage and ritual practice and so forth. So we wanted to show this is one of those gems that you typically wouldn't have any detailed information about if you weren't involved in ancestral religion. Okay. So what you see here, this is the presentation we did Saturday. We went live Saturday, and you see the term ntafo. Ntafo means twins in the Akan language. Ata means a male twin. Ata means a female twin in the Akan language. So it's a tonal language. Ata, short, male twin. Ata, female twin. But ntafo means the group of people, fo, who are twins. The twin energy is the complementary balancing energy in creation. So there's a male and female, masculine and feminine forces that govern creation and balance all of creation. When you have fire and water, earth and air, masculine and feminine, the balance of male and female, this is a complementary two halves of a whole that balance everything out. You have your two eyes, your two nostrils, your two ears, the two lungs, your two kidneys and so forth. There's a balancing, expression throughout you biologically. There's a balancing force in creation. The male and female forces of divine law and balance. In ancient Kanit and Kemet, they're called Ma'a and Ma'at. In the Akan language, they're the Ntafo, they're Ama Ria and Amasu. In the Yoruba tradition, they're the Ibeji, the two G, Ibe, and so forth, the twin Orisho, the twin deities. So every Afro-Akani culture recognizes that they are male and female divinities. The male divinity and female divinity who work together, an expansive and contractive force in creation that regulates balance in creation. Balance on earth, balance within the seasons, balance within the operation of your physical body and so forth, the unfolding of the different physiological structures in your body and so forth. They're all balanced. They're governed by this balancing principle, male and female balancing principle. So when you see the twins, when twins are born, they bring into the human sphere, within the human activity, within the clan, that complementary balancing force. And they're typically, there are certain things that are done special for twins and the mother of twins and so forth, because they carry that energy and they bring balance within the clan. When there's imbalance within the culture and so forth, there are rituals that are associated with around a spring equinox, as a matter of fact, and that's why we had this presentation. We had a group healing ritual. We did a group susu, which is the ancient Afro-Akani term for meditation. But we went through the spring equinox. That's one of the balancing points of the year. 12 hours of sunlight, 12 hours of darkness. The sun is at the equinoctial point and so forth. At spring, that's the balancing point and so forth. So the earth is in balance. So we did a ritual susu meditation to take advantage of that balancing energy that took place around March 20th, March 21st. We did this ritual on Saturday, this past Saturday, March 21st, when that balancing energy was still governing the planet. And just like animals take advantage of the shifting of the seasons, when the birds fly south for the winter, then they return when it warms up. When the bears go into hibernation, they return and so forth. Fish move in a certain way. When the earth changes, we live in harmony with the divine changes that happen in earth. When the spring is returning and the greenery is returning and we're rejuvenating and we're detoxing and purifying ourselves and revitalizing ourselves and so forth, we take advantage of the balancing force that's governing the planet. We incorporate that to balance our physical bodies, balance our spirit bodies, balance our minds and so forth, so we can move forward and deal with one another in a balanced fashion. So we dealt with that on Saturday. You look at these two Ntafo spirit sculptures from the Akan tradition. This specific shrine is a shrine for, this particular one is from the Akan tradition for the deity Abam Kofi, which is the male divinity, the male twin divinity. You have Amame, which is another title for the female twin divinity. We showed this image for that divinity Abam Kofi. There's a sacred ceremony associated with the twin divinities in Akan culture where sacred offerings are given. There's a big communal celebration to bring that balancing energy into the clans. So we were talking about that, and we were talking about Ma'an, Ma'at, the male and female force of divine balance. So we were talking about that on Saturday. That video is actually archived, and the group healing ritual So we dealt with the cosmology, and then we went into the group healing ritual. You can go on our site and access that. It's free, of course. So, but you see that you see smoke and stack from the Sinner's film. They were twins and so forth. And when you look at the iconography and the aesthetic that they use, they were dealing with the twin energy of the twin deities. So when we go into some detail about discussing that at the film festival and so forth, you'll see that they were incorporating some things that they learned about the divine complementary balance of the twin forces in creation, and they incorporated that throughout the film. So, but let me show you also some of the other things that we have touched on and we have added to our site. And you can go right now and you can purchase tickets. We have a few tickets, 30 tickets left for the discounted price. But just so you can see some of the other things that we brought out. We put this, you'll see this on the site, on the KANKYE Film site, and also on this page. A few days back, last week, we did this presentation. We want to bring light to some of the information that you've heard about, but you wouldn't have context for, because this information has not been readily either available, or some people weren't aware of it and so forth. When you're watching the film, they were talking about the juke joint and everything was about, the juke and so forth. What is the origin of the term juke? And why is it called a juke joint? And why is it a space not only for singing and dancing and joy and revelry and celebration, but it's also a ritual space? They alluded to that in the film. It's a ritual space of ritual celebration, ritual ceremony, and so forth, invoking the Abosum, the forces of nature, evoking the ancestresses and ancestors. That is because juke, the term juke, comes from the Igbo people. So those who are Igbo from southeastern Nigeria, who were forced into North America, enslaved in North America, fought for their freedom and so forth. Those who were from the Igbo ethnic group, they continued practicing Igbo ancestral religion. Those who preserved Igbo ancestral religion, they used the Igbo term joku or joke, and they called the entire tradition the joku or juke tradition. And this is where the term comes from. There's an Igbo divinity, an Igbo goddess, a female force in creation called joku. And this is where the joku or joke and later juke comes from. Sometimes it's pronounced juke in certain dialectical variants, sometimes joke or joku and so forth, or jioku. So there's a female divinity. She governs the ji, and that's the term for yam. Yam is the major crop in the Igbo tradition, just like in various parts of West Africa, West Africa, the yam is the major crop. But it's called ji in Igbo, and there's a female force that animates that agrarian culture, specifically dealing with the yam. That's a sacred crop and so forth. It's a sacred offering given to the people. The people are to the divinity. The people are dependent on, the growing of the yam as a crop and so forth for their sustenance. So the feminine force that animates that root and that plant and so forth, they evoke or invoke that divinity through ritual song, ritual dance, ritual chant, ritual incantation. So they invoke joku or jioku and so forth. And they've always done that. So when they were forced into North America, they continued invoking the female divinity joku for their sustenance, for their healing, for root work and so forth, to heal themselves, but also to poison the so-called slave masters so they can free themselves and escape the plantation. They continued to do so. So even when it came into a secular expression, the joku celebration became the juke celebration, and they did it instead of a sacred shrine house, they did it inside of a makeshift, quote unquote, joint or house. And that juke or joku sacred shrine space became a joku joint, a juke joint, and so forth. We did an entire presentation on that last week. It's right here on the channel. We also put it on our page and so forth. So that's one of the things we put forward. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up. If you have any questions, of course, you can post them in the chat room. Oh, okay, so you said I'm of Haitian descent, so it's Haitian descent, or Haiti is one of the ways it's pronounced. I have not been raised in the tradition, but would like to learn it. Would you suggest that any of our ancestral religious past is just as valid? So yeah, so what basically when we talk about ancestral religion, when we talk about Afurakani people, African Black people, wherever we exist in the world, we're all, any ancestral religion is fundamentally operating and operant on the same foundational structure. We align ourselves with the Great Mother and Great Father Supreme Being through the agency of the deities, the goddesses and gods, the forces in nature, and our spiritually cultivated class of ancestresses and ancestors. So when you look at, if you look at the physical body, for example, the Black man, Black woman, we're a microcosm of a larger macrocosm. So the Black man is like an emanation. And in fact, let me show you a quick image. And this is true for any ancestral religion wherever we exist anywhere in the world. Let me pull up just to show you a quick expression and image. Okay. So I'm going to show you just to break it down in a sense so you can see exactly what we're looking at. I want you to see this image. So if you haven't seen it before, you can get a better understanding. So when we're talking about the cosmology of creation, all right. And this is from one of the books I've published. Let me show you an image of that right quick. So to date, for those who are unaware of to date, I've published 31 books on various aspects of Afurakani, African ancestral religion, culture, nation building, restoration, and so forth. The most recent book that we published, I want to show you this image from the book. This is the most recent one. This is the book I'm about to show you. So this is our most recent book, Ojida Sim, True Historical Anthology. So it's a 600-page book. It's 8.5 by 11, so it's encyclopedia size. And 12 of the books that I published out of the 31, you see on the back, can't see it very well, let me see. 12 of the books dealing with true historical information and cosmology and linguistics and so forth, we compiled in one large encyclopedia-sized volume. It's full color, 8.5 by 11. You can purchase it directly from the website. But in that book, I want you to see this image. So we have a number of books within that text, and we show the cultural continuity of ancestral religion wherever Black people exist in the world, starting with the fact that we published the first book in the series is Afuraka, the origin of the term Africa. And we showed that the term Africa does not come from Europeans. That's silly. People who haven't studied repeat that false information. But the ancient term for the creator and creatress of the universe in the language of ancient Kanid and Kemet is Ra and Ra'et. In Haiti, amongst the Fon and Ewe people who practice Vodou, Ra, the creator, is called Da, and the Ra'et is called Aidahuedo. So when you hear about Da or Dambala and Aidahuedo in Vodun, that is Ra and Ra'et, and Ra became Ra or Da and so forth. So, but Ra is also called Afura when he's moving in the underworld and so forth. And the first raised land is called Ka. So the Ka of Afura is the land of the creator. And that's where you get Afuraka from. So that's the very first book. And we show the cultural continuity of Black people wherever we exist in the world. But this is the image I want you to check out. We also have our Kuku Tuntun, the ancestral jurisdiction, where we show that the fictional characters, Jesus and Muhammad and Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, Solomon, Sheba, Menelik, Yahweh, Buddha, Allah, all of these characters are fictional characters who never existed, and we prove that and show how they were manufactured, how they stole cosmology from our ancient texts and manufactured these fictional characters for purposes of control. So, but this is from the temple of Apet Reset, the southern Apet in so-called Luxor in ancient Kemet. On the right is the great god Amen. On the left is the great goddess Amenet. And Amen and Amenet are the great mother and great father supreme being. In Vodou, amongst the Ewe and Fon people, Amenet is called Mawu, the great mother, and Amen is called Lisa. So you hear Mawu and Lisa. In Yoruba, Amen is called Olorun. Amenet is called Olokun. In our Kan tradition in Ghana and Ivory Coast, Amen is called Nyame, and Amenet is called Nyamewa. So the great mother and great father supreme being are two halves of the divine whole we call the supreme being. And we are children of the great mother and great father, just like your physical body is a great being, so to speak, and your organs are smaller beings, children of the great being, and they regulate order within your entire body, your organs and glands. And then your organs and glands give birth to even smaller beings called cells. And those cells, when they serve their parent organ, they're serving you, the great being, at the same time. We are the cells within the great divine body of Amenet and Amen. And because we have different languages, as Black people specifically and exclusively, depending on our language, we have different names for the great mother and great father supreme being, but we have the same structure. We are cells. When we serve the parent organ, the divinity that governs us in our clans, we're serving the great being at the same time. So Igbo people, Yoruba people, Fon people, Ewe people, Akan people, wherever we exist, Bakongo people, Dogon people, Ovambo people, wherever we exist in the world, Zulu and so forth, and those of us who were forced into North America, we're still cells within the great divine body. And we align ourselves with the forces that govern us, our parent divinities, and we're aligning with the great mother and great father supreme being at the same time. So that is the cosmological structure. If a Yoruba person calls Earth Aye, the Earth itself Aye, and a Akan person calls the Earth Asase, we're talking about the same thing. If a Yoruba person calls the sun Orun, and an Akan person in Ghana calls the sun Oria, we're talking about the same solar orb. If a Yoruba person in Nigeria says the word for water is Omi, and an Akan person says the word for water is Nsio, we're talking about the same substance. When they say God is Olorun and goddess is Olokun, and an Akan person says God is Inyame and goddess is Inyamewa, we're talking about the same thing. So, but when you engage in, your ancestral religious practices and foundationally developing a connection with your ancestresses and ancestors, establishing an Nkomre, an ancestral shrine, and communicate with them and so forth, as a focal point of communication. You can communicate with them wherever you are, but as a focal point of communication, a sacred space, they will confirm for you, if they haven't already, exactly what your ancestral clan is, and then you move forward from there. There were many Ewe and Fon people in Haiti. So, of course, Vodou was more popular culturally because they were culturally dominant. But there were also Igbo people there. There were Yoruba people there. There were, people from the Congo there and so forth. They will confirm for you exactly what your ethnic group is, and then you move in that direction. They probably have already confirmed it, and they will give you multiple confirmations for that. Okay. Okay, you said, I've listened to your works, and you are one of the most right and exact teachers. May I say, we appreciate that. Of our traditions, you give the science of our spirituality. Just want to say, Ankh, Aku, Yerase. We appreciate that. And, what we want to, do is we answer the questions that we know that our people have. The same questions I had when I was younger. We want to know the details. We don't want to just hear someone say something and have to go and just believe them. we put information out, like we publish these books and so forth. We give people detailed information, cosmology, truthstory, linguistics, the connection with biology as well. And then we direct people on how to study and verify these things for yourself. You don't have to believe anything that we say about cosmology or language or ritual practice or anything. We put the information out, show you how you can verify it, so you can verify it for yourself independently. And then you incorporate it. Then you move forward and do your own study as well and incorporate what you've learned and so forth. So this is how we're moving forward. Okay, so you say your maternal guardian is Dambala. So that's one of the praise names of Da. So when we were looking at, so what we were saying, let me go back real quick. So Amen and Amenet are the Great Mother, Great Father, Supreme Being. Just like on a microcosmic level, for us, if you look at your physical body as a microcosm of the macrocosm, like your physical body is the great being in relationship to your cells, if they could talk, they would say, okay, we're part of this great supreme being. So for the Afurakani man, African Black man, an emanation of the Afurakani woman, an emanation of Amenet. So that's the great being. Within your physical body, of course, when you breathe in and you take in oxygen and so forth, you also take in the solar energy. You have life force energy surging through your body, through your being. And you direct your energy to your arms and legs and feet so you can walk and so forth, to your reproductive organs so you can procreate a child and so forth. So you have life force energy, that solar firepower moving through you, surging through you, that life force energy, that animate force. That is your Ra force if you're a male and Ra'et force if you're a female. So the great being is Amen and Amenet. But the divine living energy that animates the great being and the great being directs, and you direct your life force energy, Amen and Amenet, the great being, direct Ra and Ra'et to go out and create the universe. So the creator and creatress, Ra and Ra'et. Let's go back up real quick. And they have different names based on the culture. Everybody has a name for them. In ancient Kemet, the most ancient name for them is Ra and Ra'et. And that same title became Ra with the rolling R, Ra, simplifies Ra or Da. In Vodun, that's Da. And one of the praise names of Da, Da. In Vodun is Dambala, but the root is Da. And then the female divinity is Aidahuedo. So when you see Ra and Ra'et, in Akan, they're called Nyonkumpon and Nyonkunton. In Yoruba, they're called Odumare and Oshumare. In Vodun, they're called Da and Aidahuedo, and also Dambala and Aidahuedo and so forth. So as a creator and creatress, they're connected to us. We're talking about, of course, specifically Black people exclusively. They're the divine living energy. But some people, if you are pathed to bring their energy into the community as a vessel to bring their energy into the community, and you're pathed and came into the world to serve as a vessel, like in the form of a priest or priestess and so forth, you have a different role with regard to them. But so you have to see, when someone told you that's your maternal guardian, you have to, ask them specifically when they said maternal guardian, were they talking about the divinity that governs your head? Were they talking about your specific, just your clan in general? Were they talking about your matriclan and patriclan and so forth? Were they talking about priesthood and priestesshood? Whoever told you that's the maternal guardian, you find out specifically what aspect of the culture they were referring to. They could be talking about who governs your head. They could be talking about, ritual practice, what your function in the community is going to be. Everybody's not a priest or priestess. Everybody has different roles and so forth. But some people do serve as that kind of vessel, as a healer, healeress, and so forth. So ask them exactly what they were referring to. Okay, so if it was your mother who told you that, then she may be referring to the function you came into the world to execute, to carry that energy into the clan for whatever purposes, for healing purposes, defensive purposes, building, depending on what your role in creation is. Some people, just like there are different occupations and so forth, for us, when we have different occupations, it's based on the divinity that governs the head. So when you have certain deities, for example, who govern the skeletal system and structural things, and people are children of that divinity, then very often when they utilize that energy in the communal, sphere, they tend to be people who are focused on architecture or construction or building or, stabilizing things and so forth. Or if it's, within the political sphere, they're the ones who are establishing a government or supporting, a traditional foundational system of jurisprudence. That's something that's stable, that's going to uphold the community. So whether it's something physical to uphold the community, construction, or something political that's going to uphold or, stabilize the community, people who are children of a divinity that governs the skeletal system or, building, construction, or, the mountains and so forth, the bones of the earth, it translates into the way we operate. Okay. Okay, Yini, I'll say that. And those, in fact, those are the kinds of things that we, that our films get into, and also the Conjure films that will be screened at our upcoming film festival. This is the kind of information that we're dealing with. Let me put this page back up. So what we're doing right now, for those who came in a little bit later, first let me go back to the main page. So our Conjure Film Festival is this fall. We have some discounted tickets, about 30 of them left out of the 365 seat theater that we're renting. We have about 30 left set aside for the discounted price. So that's why we want to go live. We had some people purchase some over the weekend. We had 60 initially. We have about 30 left. So we had people purchase over the weekend. When we did our event on the weekend, we had a presentation on the weekend about the twins that we just talked about, the Ntafo. And then on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m., we are going through the Runu Pert Imheru, the Book of Coming Forth by Day, so-called Book of the Dead. And we're, week by week, we're going through the chapters of our sacred text and explaining the cosmology and so forth. So over the weekend, we did those two. We did one on Saturday and the text on Sunday. And in between that time, we had people purchasing tickets. So we have about 30 left. So we want to let people on YouTube know, some of our subscribers, if you weren't part of the classes and so forth. Okay, let me put that back up. He said, can I link you regarding getting answers on these questions? So yeah, when you go to the, so I'll give you two links. So this is one link. This is, the page. And then this is the other link on our website. And I'll show you this. Okay, so when you see this, okay, so ojirafo.square.site, and then of course you can connect with us via email there as well. So when you go to that site, let me just show you what that is. You'll find our books and our courses on that site. So for example, I was just talking about when we're going through the ancient texts, the Pert Imheru, the papyrus of Ani, the one we've been going through for the past few weeks, and that's Sundays at 11 a.m. You can also connect with us via the email connected to the site. You can click here, and this is the book I just showed you, our Ojira Sim book. And we actually have our book is on Amazon, but we also have it on our regular site because we can give you a 30% discount. So for those who didn't see, this is our 600-page book. It's 8.5 by 11 full color, encyclopedia size. So you can get it for a discount on our website. Amazon charges they take 60% off the top, just for booksellers in general. So if you have a book, hold on a second. Okay, so if you had a book and you wrote a book and you were selling a book for $10 and you put it on Amazon, Amazon's going to take 6 off the top, and then they're going to give you, 4, and then minus your cost for printing, and whatever you have left, that's your profit. So we do have our book on Amazon. That's a way to, let people see that the book exists, reaching people that we wouldn't normally reach. But we also put it on our website, so you can get it for a 30% discount on Amazon. It's a 600-page book. It's large, full color. It's $59.95 on Amazon, but they take 60% of that off the top. But on our website, we have it for $44 plus shipping. And if you choose Afterpay at checkout, you can break that payment up into 4 separate payments of $13. So if you want to order the book today, you can go to this link, and when you go to checkout, just choose Afterpay, and you only have to pay $13 today to place your order. And then every couple of weeks, you make another $13 payment until those next 3 $13 payments are paid off. But that's one of the reasons we use the Square. And we also have our email associated with that site as well. And we're also on Instagram as og.fo and Facebook and so forth, TikTok. But that's the page. And then when you see you'll see a couple of other things. This is the piece that we were talking about earlier when we talked about the twins. We did that on Saturday, and it was a group healing ritual. So we did the cosmology, went into detail about that, and then we did a ritual susu, which is the ancient term for meditation. We have our Akradin Boson book, and this is actually kind of what we were talking about. When you see this image, in the Akan tradition, you notice people have names based on the day of the week that they're born, like Kwesi is a male born on Sunday, Akosua is a female born on Sunday, Afua is a female born on Friday, Kofi is a male born on Friday, and so forth. But we're not named after the days. We're named after the deities that govern the solar, lunar, planetary body that governs the day. So each day of the week is governed by one of the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies and how it interacts with the Earth Mother and so forth. And there's a spiritual force that animates the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies. So the male and female forces that animate these solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that govern the 7-day week. These are the sacred Akan statuary. We also show their images in ancient Kemet. We also show how they govern the 11 major body systems, which are the shrines for these forces in nature. So whenever you study the deities, the forces in nature, you're also studying geology, you're studying astronomy, you're studying biology, you're studying math, science, medicine, botany, and so forth, every level of creation. So this book is going to be, actually, it's new. It's going to be another 600-page book. It's going to be released this spring. And we have it on pre-order right now, and you can, check that out. You can also do the Afterpay, $13, and do it that way. We certify people to become meditation instructors. So it's a 4-week course. You can also do the archive course. Once you get that credential, we've been teaching Susu, the ancient term for meditation, for 22 years, publishing on it for 22 years and teaching it, practicing for over 30. But we started our certification process a couple of years ago, where you become certified with a professional credential, and you can take to schools and corporations and human services organizations and so forth, and they see that you have that credential. They will pay you to conduct meditation sessions with employees or clients at their human services organization, or if you go to schools, youth, and so forth. They typically pay between $100 and $200 for someone to come out and conduct a half an hour session with their employees to enhance work productivity, or youth to enhance, learning outcomes, or if you go to a human services organization like a women's shelter to assist the women to overcome anxiety or decrease depression or weight loss, or assisting them with various things and so forth. People are incorporating that now, and they have budgets set aside for that. But you need a credential, a professional credential, and we have that. So that's part of our institution. So we have a number of things that are on the website. Okay, Mirase, we appreciate that. Appreciate your support. Let me switch back up here. So expand this a little bit. So what you also see, we're incorporating new things on the KANKYE site. As we start to incorporate the additional films from other independent Black filmmakers in the Conjure film genre, we're going to place their film posters on the site as well. So right now we have these two films that we're going to be screening and discussing. We're going to have a short discussion on the center's film, like the deeper gems that people wouldn't know if you don't practice ancestral religion. Get into that. In the section here, some of the videos that we've done going in detail about different aspects of KANKYE or Conjure, different expressions like the Igbo goddess Joku, the origin of the juke joint, quote unquote, African-American cosmology, or the various expressions of ancestral religion, hoodoo, juju, voodoo, wanga, ngangan, gullah, geechee, gree, and so forth, juba, juke, all of the expressions in North America when we came as various ethnic groups. We preserved our ethnic identities. So you can learn of your ethnic identity by DNA tests, through genealogy, but some of us can find out simply by what was our family practicing. If your family was practicing hoodoo, hoodoo is the Akan ancestral religion from the Akan ethnic group of Ghana and Ivory Coast. If your family was practicing juju, juju is from the Yoruba term ju, which means to cast or throw. Juju is the Yoruba ancestral religion. If your family was practicing voodoo, that's Ewe and Fon ethnic group. If your family was practicing gree, the gree man or the gree woman making a gree bag for you and so forth, that is the Mindi ethnic group. If they were Wanga, throwing the Wanga and so forth, that's the Ovambo group. If they are Gullah and Geechee, or Gullah or Geechee and so forth, that comes from the Gola and Kitsi people of Sierra Leone. If they were talking about Juke and so forth, and that was prominent within your family, they're from the Joku Igbo people who invoke the divinity Joku or Juke and so forth. So we preserved our ethnic identities intact. We preserved our ancestral religion intact. So when they say we got mixed up on the boats and we can never find out who we are, we say, Wotumi fra moja nanso wo ntumi mfra okra, which is a Kwamu proverb from us in North America, which means you can mix blood, but you cannot mix the soul. I mean, you were forced into North America on a ship and so forth, and you became an ancestress when you died here in North America, and you watched your children and grandchildren growing up enslaved or escaping. You're that great ancestor or ancestress who was enslaved and fought for freedom and escaped from the plantation and helped your other family members and died in the war and so forth. They still pour libation to you, and generation after generation after generation, you're that great ancestor or ancestress who came from the continent and continued to guide your descendants here in North America until it was time for one of your great granddaughters, when she grew up and she got married, and it was time for her to bring you back into the world. And when she copulated with her husband, she drew your spirit back into the womb for the first time in 150 years, 170 years, and then you're born into the world as a child. You may look and grow up and ask your mother, hey, where do we come from? And she'll say, well, we were mixed up on the boats and on plantations, and that's why we're a little bit lighter brown now, because things happen in the blood circle. We're still melanin dominant, but mixture happened. but you're the same ancestral spirit that came from the continent. Your blood may be mixed, but your soul is not. You're the exact same spirit that came through. You're a little bit lighter brown because of wars that took place within the blood circle, but you're still melanin dominant. It's no different than you putting on some clothes. You take those clothes off in the evening. The next day, when you put on a new pair of, a wardrobe and so forth, some clothing, you're the same individual. You have different clothing on, but you're the same individual. You look slightly different externally, but the one inhabiting that attire is the same entity. You're the same ancestor, the same ancestress. You can't mix the soul. You can mix the blood, but you can't mix the soul. So we actually know what our ethnic identity is. Every Black person in North America, the United States, and the Western Hemisphere, we can find out exactly what ancestral clan we incarnated from. So if you lived as part of the Akan ethnic group in Ghana 300 years ago, and you were forced into North America, when you're reborn once again as an ancestor and an ancestress, and you're moving through the world in America, and you come in contact with some Akan artifacts or iconography or clothing or language, you're going to be drawn to that more than if you came in contact with some Yoruba or Ewe or Igbo, because as soon as you hear that Akan language, that's the language you used to speak hundreds of years ago in your village. And this is the first time you're hearing it again. Or you see the kente cloth or the different, expressions. Or if you were Dogon from Mali and you used to live as part of that and you reincarnate 300 years later, you're in North America, when you see mud cloth or certain statues from the Dogon people, you're going to be drawn to that because that is your people. That's who you came from. You used to live in a Dogon village. You spoke the language, you ate the food, you wore the clothes, you engaged in the culture, and now you're back and you're drawn to who you are. So that's part of the value of ancestral religion. We can learn of our identity intact. So we're going to continue to add more videos here. We're talking about our ancestral cosmology and the cultural continuity. We have the definition of what KANKYE is, the Conjure Film Festival, why we're having it, what KANKYE means as far as ritual incantation, the definitions of that. And for those of you who are business owners, in this section of the site, you see it says advertise your business with us. You can place your ad for your business. We have the $25 size, that's half of the column, the $35 size, which is the full column and so forth, kind of like this poster here. And we'll place it on the site. And this site is also connected to our flagship site, the ojirafo.com site, which we get about 2.5 million hits per year on average. So that'll be directing people to your flyer. So if you'd like to place, a flyer for your business on our website, you can, go to our link right here on the page, and you can do so. And it'll be placed on here and it'll go all the way through November. People will be able to, every day, more and more people are coming to the site. They're learning about, the film festival. They're going to purchase tickets, and they're going to be looking at the new videos that we post and the new posters we post, and they'll be able to see your flyer for your business. So every time we have any event, whether it's a conference or presentation or whatever it is, we always have something set aside to promote other Black businesses as well. We've been doing that for over a decade. Okay, any questions in the chat room? Just let me know any questions or comments. Okay, so let me put the direct link back up. Okay, so that's the direct link to the tickets page. So, so for those who came a little bit later, we have about 30. We said we had about 30 tickets. Originally, we had 60 for the discounted price. We have about 30 since the weekend, the end of this weekend. We have about 30 left. So if you'd like to attend the event in person, traveling to Washington, D.C. to come to the film festival, or if you want to do the live stream version because you can't travel to DC. Either way, the tickets will work for you. Just let us know which one you are interested in. But we wanted to send it out today. So those who were, some people have taken our classes, they already knew about the tickets, they purchased some. But some of our people who follow us on YouTube or catch us on YouTube live sometimes, you didn't know about the discounted tickets, and we only have 30 left. So go ahead and check that out. And for those who came in a little bit later, this is on the Square platform as well. So let me just show you what that looks like. When you scroll there, hold on one second. Okay, so when you go to when you click the link, it will take you to the Square platform, and I just want you to see what that looks like. We had a, and we still have, we had a crowdfund effort, which we still do. We combined it with the ticket sales and so forth. So when you go to the page, you'll see we recently combined the two. So some people just want to make a contribution. They may make a $50 contribution because we're also raising funds to the crowdfund effort, and the ticket sales first and foremost help to cover the cost of the venue. The venue is $5,115 for that big 365 seat venue. So when we're selling tickets, that helps us to cover the $5,000 expense. And also when people make a contribution to the crowd fund, that does as well. So some people just contributed to the crowd fund. If you make a contribution to the crowd fund, you can receive one or more tickets for your contribution. Or if you would rather receive some of our books, you can do that as well. But some people want to purchase tickets, so we combine both on this page. So when you see this page, if you want to buy tickets, you can either choose the $30 or $40, but you're going to choose the 30 because that's the discounted price. You'll see it says click 30, you click donate, and I just want you to see the afterpay option. Hold on one second. Okay. And so that's what you'll see. And when you see, the thing is when you click continue to payment, this is the reason why we chose the Square platform. Because as you can see down here, you can pay the full price, or you can see it says Afterpay 4 interest-free installments of $7.50. So, hold on one second. Okay, so then you only pay purchase a ticket tonight. You only have to pay $7.50 tonight, and then as we said, every couple of weeks you will pay the rest until you pay it off. So please support our effort. This is why we're having this live fundraiser tonight to get these tickets. First and foremost, we have to pay off the theater rental, and then secondarily, we're going to use funds to pay for some of the presenters to come out, and from different cities, the filmmakers who are going to submit their films and so forth, and people who are participated who are in the films and so forth to come out and speak and sit on the panels and so forth. So first and foremost, we have to cover the theater, the venue, and secondly, the logistics as far as assisting in the travel for some of our filmmakers and presenters. So that's why we're doing the ticket drive tonight. So if you can support that, we appreciate it. And yet I'll say we thank everybody who has bought tickets so far. That's been a great help. And we also look forward to you coming out and participating and watching the films and so forth. Okay. So I just want to make sure. Any other questions in the chat room? Any questions about anything that we've talked about? Any questions about the film festival? Anything? I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything. I'll see some comments, but I just want to make sure I didn't miss any questions. Okay, so you said to get an Indu Adebisa after placing the Acheti on the website, will this create a link for my email? So what we'll do is we'll send you an email directly. So that is the, and let me just show you what that question is about. Hold on a second. Okay, let me switch it over right quick. Okay. So yeah, so this is the Adebisa page. Adebisa, and you saw that term on the film. This is the Akan term for divination, spiritual reading, consultation, and we do conduct those. So yes, when you go to the site and you make Acheti and so forth, we'll send you an email, and then we'll put you on the list. We have a few people ahead of you, but we're going to get through the list very soon, within the next week or so. Hopefully we'll be gone through the entire list and so forth. So we'll put you on the list, but we'll send you an email directly. And then you'll let us know what the best timing for you is. So the way we conduct that is and you'll see that on the site as well, we conduct the Adebisa, but we'll schedule a time. Typically it may take about an hour and a half to go through the entire, reading what came out. And if you have any questions and so forth, so we just schedule a time where it's good for you to do that. But yes, we'll send you an email after that. I mean, once you, go to the page and so forth and go to the link and all that, we'll have the email address and then we'll send you that information. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Okay, so Merase. So again, Yerase, we thank everybody for joining in. Please support the ticket drive, and we look forward to connecting with you all at the film festival. But we're going to have more information coming up and more lives coming up, sharing more information as we go along. So Yerase, we thank everybody for tuning in. And Yebe Shabio, we will meet again. That's it.